industry for the last 6 years. She graduated from the NUS in Project and Facilities Management from the School of Design and Environment. In 2018, Istilah was selected as the final 5 shortlisted for the C Women of the Future Awards under Property, Construction and Infrastructure category. So Istilah, first of all, what do you do as a project manager in a construction consultancy?
So in a consultant space, I mean, there's different types of project managers in construction itself. In the consultant space, normally we deal more with the client, basically understanding what the client wants, the expectation of the client, and basically plan out and execute all the series of activities that enables the client to run the project smoothly. And basically, we also run things like tendering, getting contractors on board. First of all, getting consultants on board, managing designs, getting the contractors on board, and at the same time, ensures that all the design requirements from the client is captured. So basically, we're just like the middleman, making sure everything runs smoothly, right? And during construction stage, definitely managing the construction activities in a sense that ensuring the contractor is productive, on time, on target. So we always deal in terms of schedule, cost, and quality. So ensuring that whatever the client wants from the very beginning of the project is materialized and realized at the end of the project for the consumer use, be it from commercial space buildings to residentials to data centers or retail, whatever that project may be. So generally, there's a scope of project managers, and we basically deal with all the different kind of people, different stakeholders, different walks of life, different communities all around.
Yep. When did you know that this is the industry that you wanted to pursue as a career?
Oh, wow. I think all of us back then, maybe 6 years ago or 10 years ago, we are always, wondering what we want to be when we grow up, what we want to do. So generally for construction, it wasn't something that I wanted to do in the very beginning. I used to want to be a business person, Malay teacher, different traits and different scopes. I think I started loving construction industry or understanding construction once I joined NUS under Project and Facilities Management. So you learn about the challenges on site. And back then when I was in JC, I used to watch mega structures in National Geographic. So you kind of like learn about how people, come together, how different, companies, intellectuals come together to build really, really great, big, mega infrastructure, such as the Marina Bay Sands, the bridges in Europe. So I think that kind of like sparked my interest a bit. After graduation or before graduation, right? So when you're supposed to like create your career and everything, there were times where I was thinking maybe I should go into tourism instead, because you still manage projects. The nature of project management is a skill, right, that you can basically apply to any industry. But I thought of giving construction a try, and since then I've just been rolling and continuing and developing myself in there. So yeah.
Okay, I've got a quick question, because you're a nice, lovely lady, and you're in a construction scene. Is there like a? I mean, I'm just coming from a outsider point of view, because construction is very physical, very manly, and you're a nice lady. So how is it different? Like, for example, if I want to go into the construction site, is that what I think it is? Like, I have to be out and about and physical and tired, and yeah, maybe you can share a bit more.
I think the nice lady comes when I wear makeup, right? And then, I look pleasant. But
yeah.
I do have the different sides of me, the more of the rough and edgy side. So, people think that in construction, it's hot, it's humid, it's sweaty. But that's only when you go to site, right? When you walk around the site to see the development, the progress, and you're also not part of the workers, who basically do all the physical work. Most of the time, if you are into the consultancy or the contractor side, you tend to be more in the office because you look into the design, you look into the costs, you look into the schedule. So you kind of like sit in the office quite a lot to look into the computers, go to meetings. Typical of any project that you may do, let's say if you come up with an event, production or something, you always, have that room where you sit down and you do your research, your work, or your homework and that kind of thing. So generally, you can still be sweet, nice, be as a lady as you want, and still at the same time work in a very male-dominated environment. And I think slowly and progressively over the last 10 years, I would say, it has been more and more inclusive, right? The construction industry, you will see more and more female personnel, female colleagues coming in, and they do a great job. You see a lot of engineers on site. For me, my role is a consultancy project manager. So most of the time I deal with clients who are in the office.
Right.
But I do have friends who are actually mechanical engineers, construction engineers who are actually on site day to day, wearing their boots, wearing their vests, wearing their top hats, and walking the site, and they are doing fine, and they look cool on site also. So I'm a person who like to wear boots, like high heel boots, and then I change sometimes to my construction boots, so different different boots. But if you're talking about, like, I mean, some people ask me, like, do you face a lot of discrimination being a woman in the construction industry? I think regardless of which industry you are, regardless of what gender, you will face certain hurdles, certain challenges, because different people, different communities, different personalities, there's always bound to have some kind of discrimination or people who look down on you. I think just ensure that you are always, upbeat, always knowing what you are doing, and just believe in yourself. I mean, at least for Singapore, the inclusiveness, the gender equality is actually much better. If you go to other countries in Southeast Asia, for example, the more developing countries, the challenges are actually much more real, I would say. Yeah, because there's still that I would say traditional mindset, women have to be at home to cook, to clean. Well, I do that also lah, right? But at the same time, I can also manage big construction projects.
Great. I'm actually interested to understand a little bit more about your philosophy in this industry. Your quote, "We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us." Can you explain a little bit more about that, especially for our youth who are watching, who may not be in the built environment and do not know what's the significance of this industry?
Well, I think if you look back, how we grew up, right? We are in Singapore. We basically have the great facilities all around: clean toilets, clean home, clean spaces, safe environment. And remember how back then when we were young, our playground was made of sand, right? All the very, and with safety concerns and everything, now our playground is much safer, right? It's much conducive for children to play around, learn, because of the mats. So changing our environment, changing our space, changing how we live basically will change how we react and how we behave. Okay, similarly, like for an example, if we were to adopt smart technologies, right? Smart technologies in a sense like maybe much more energy efficient equipment or aircon, fan, whatever in our house, we basically save more money in the long run. And we basically learn to be more sustainable. And it just creates behavior. It just creates a pattern. So whatever strategies or design that you go into your ideas into a space, it will just induce and influence how you behave naturally in your home or outside. We talk about city planning, how for example, Singapore, it's getting more and more greener. And when we talk about green space, it's not just trees. It's also, I would say plants on the roof, or what's this? What's they call yang lampu? Sorry, suddenly my mind just went blank. Apa ni? The roof where sunlight. Oh my god, I forgot. They put on top of the roof and then they convert sunlight into energy.
Greenhouse.
Greenhouse?
No, it's not greenhouse.
It's solar panel.
Solar panel, ya ampun. So I think progressively you see car parks, where the car parks where there's no roof, they put more solar panels on top. So it's just basically as you create your environment, the environment itself will help to create you, who you are as a person, and even your children, right? Similarly, like all of us are spending 20, 30,000 on home renovations to look so cool, so chic, you know, the different materials that we choose. Why do we do that? Because we want to create an environment, a lifestyle, something safe for our family, something that we can live in. So definitely whatever ideas and design that we put into the environment will just impact all of us. Like, you know, when I have like these two toys behind me, I'm still a kid inside, right? So it's always remind me to be bubbly, to remind me that, you know, the innocence of a child, the dreams of a children, you know, what you want to be when you grow up, and you continue to learn, you know, you continue to learn more things. So yeah.
I think talking about environment, talking about space, there's no other time where we have a much greater appreciation of space and environment than this COVID-19 outbreak. I think personally, that's when I really appreciate the space around us, you know, being at home, how limited or how we need to get out and to go to the outside environment. How would you say your job or your industry is affected by this outbreak?
There are two different areas, right? So basically with the outbreak, construction activities on site cannot proceed. I think we all know that at least more than 25,000 foreign workers are affected by COVID-19. They are in different dorms, and you know, in order for us to start back for this phase one, there's a lot of measures that have been put in place that contractors need to follow, and before they can even start work. Now, with this COVID-19, operation costs still is incurring. And sometimes for certain companies, it's actually increased because they have to get more personnel, relocate their people to better dormitories, or even make sure that the site itself basically manage and all the different measures are in place, more sanitization products, more space, basically all the different measures. So it's not easy for the construction industry, especially for me. I'm just lucky to be in a project where the design is still ongoing. There is still change management to facilitate to happen, and meeting still runs, right? So on a daily basis, I still work from 8:30 to 5:30, managing all the different components of construction changes that I need to basically handle with my team and client, right? But so there are some of us who are also affected greatly by this COVID-19. Number one is the foreign workers, definitely the contractors themselves. We are predicting maybe some of the contractors may go bust, especially the small firms. There's of course in Singapore there's all the big players, but there's also the small mini subcontractors that, you know, their cash flow requirement is a need lah. And it's just gonna be tough. And I think a few days ago, or it was yesterday, the parliament was debating, you know, to restart. It takes so much measures to, you know, they have to tick a lot of boxes. So by the time they restart, that'll be a month's time. And by the time they get their money back, or basically the cash flow coming in, will be in under 1-2 months time. So in order for them to stay safe or stay afloat in their business, they need to really think of the different strategies, getting different help from different government sectors, even their clients, and to see whether, you know, they can actually manage through the project. But I think in Singapore, we are lucky in a sense that our government still support us. I would question other countries like Malaysia. You know, they are also locked down for quite a fair bit, right? 2 to 3 months. And most likely projects may go bust and stall. So I mean, in any cost perspective, when you increase your cost, of course, either your client have to bear the cost or the contractors. So it's really a very hard time for everyone in the construction industry, because we won't know until when this will last. Even those foreign workers who are already so-called get better from COVID-19, right? They will still be in quarantine, still to make sure that, you know, it doesn't come back. So it's just productivity is going down, cost is going up. It's just going to be a tough time for the next 3-6 months, I guess, until the end of the year. Now, if there is a second wave, be it anywhere. So for an example, if there's a second wave in China, if there's a second wave in Europe, or now in the US, let's say it gets worse, right? The global economy is going down. And even when we talk about like materials, most of our materials are imported, be it from Indonesia, from China, from Vietnam, from Malaysia. If let's say we can't get those materials into Singapore, then we can't build also. So that's how things are affected. It's just not about the people, but it's also the whole supply chain in the construction industry. So it's greatly affected.
And how would you see post-COVID? How would you see things are changing in that industry? I think previously when we talked with a previous professional, they talked a lot about digitalization, like what AJ shared. The stereotype seems to be that the built environment is very labor intensive. So how would you see the built industry after COVID will be like?
If you talk about digitalization, the built environment as a whole, just globally, they've been into digitalization for the last 4 or 5 years. We have BIM. I'm not so sure whether you know about building information modeling, where all the different designs come together, and you can even see it in a 3D figure and make all the changes and adjustment through that BIM model. But that's under the design space, right? If you're talking about collaboration, I've worked with consultants all over the world for even local projects when I was in Jakarta or when I was in Singapore. So we do use a lot of technology like webinars or even Zoom or Skype and Blue Jeans to interact. So we do use a lot of digital, right? We have AutoCAD. Digital is fine. I think it's more about how we actually use that digital technology in our construction site. So, for example, we talk about construction monitoring. We at this stage we engage a lot of supervisors or a lot of personnel on site to monitor the work. So, if you use, let's say, a camera in construction site, you will be able to evaluate the productivity of the construction site itself without the need to actually come down physically. So, for example, I will come to site every 2 weeks, every week to see the progress on site, and then I go back to my desktop, and then I will take, okay, this beam is installed, this wall is installed, this toilet bowl is installed. Trust me, when I was young, I actually counted 20, 30 toilet bowls for just a project. So, and you do it by paper, you come back to your desk and then you start taking progress and calculating the progress. But with technology, with BIM modeling and everything, whatever goes on site, it's automatic, it's QR codes, and you can basically understand the productivity in an instant. But that's really ongoing. It's really something that is being developed in the construction industry, and I think Singapore is being one of those pioneering countries. If you look at BCA, NUS, NTU, they are really coming up with really, really cool technologies. But post COVID-19, I think it's more on the human or the social side of construction that will be looked at. Of course, working from home will be a new norm, meaning that if I can basically still be productive while working from home, I don't need to be on site all the time. That's number one, right? For especially consultants. But when you talk about like the foreign workers, their accommodation, their well-being, their welfare, how do you manage the site, the safety at site? So these are the things that will probably be much, much more stringent, I would say, a topic that we look at further. I think the whole idea about having our foreign workers being treated well, and it's really about our crunch in our labor. A lot of Singaporeans wouldn't want to work as a construction worker, unfortunately. So we still have to import them in, right? And given now that Singapore is actually quite stringent in the number of foreign workers or even talents coming to Singapore, that will definitely, make construction a bit longer because you don't have enough labor. It will be much more expensive to live because technically you need to pay more to get people in. So there's a lot of different factors, but it's an ongoing factor. It's just a matter of how well we recover with our contractors and our clients, and actually whether our contractors can even be able to go beyond the line for this COVID-19. So let's just hope and pray that there's no second wave or third wave. Because I think it's not just affecting the construction industry. I think tourism is affected quite badly.
I mean, everyone's affected.
Everyone's affected. Maybe security and cleaning, maybe not so, because actually they have more work, right? But generally everywhere but I think construction is one of the key industry, because if your construction costs increase, sometimes the increase of cost is not to the client but to the consumers. So if you take, for example, your HDBs, right? You have a certain budget. The government is a certain cost, but you guys are paying for that HDB at the end of the day. If the material costs, if the labor costs increase, who's gonna pay for it? It's still us consumers at the end. So some way or rather, we will all pay for it, lah.
So what would be the skills that, I mean, for youth out there who are watching this and would be interested to be in this field like you, what are the skills that we can take up now to better prepare us in this industry after this outbreak?
So I'm not so sure how is the hiring for this year. I think for even my company, we may stop hiring because we do not have the numbers. Unfortunately for us, right, my colleagues who are under SP or EP pass, has not get their EP renewed. So actually they either have to be relocated to another office around Asia, or we had to let them go. So hiring, I would say, be it from the contractor, from developer, designer, or consultancy firm, or even the client, may be a bit slow. I think what you can always do from now until the time that you are employed is really to brush up your soft skills. You can be technically sound, you can know all the different technical components of construction, methodology, but if you're not able to express yourself, you're not able to basically convince your clients or manage the meeting or manage your consultants in a very coherent and fluent manner, it will just fail. So communication is always important. How you speak to people. Definitely where we are right now for COVID-19, do read up a lot more about, what are the different measures in place. There's different strategies in place, because as much as you are not in the construction industry or doing things, having that knowledge, having that understanding will make you a better informed person. And that will help you to create conversations, because at the end of the day, any job, be it from tourism, banking, or whatever, it's all about human interaction, right? So it's always good to always improve your soft skills. I think even at this age, I try as much as I can to be more fluent in my presentation to our clients, presentation. What clients like to see, if you want to be in the consultancy side of things, or even the contractor, what clients always want to see is clear presentation. So learning to present well, be it with PowerPoint, be it with Prexy or whatever software they use nowadays, right? It's also very, very important. Yeah.
Do you have any platforms that you can recommend for these people, for the youth who are more relevant for the built industry in terms of resources or where they can learn up these things?
I would suggest, depending on what you are doing. So if let's say, because I'm not speaking just as a consultancy in project management, right? I'm consulting in just of the built industry, be it engineering, design, or construction management. At this time, a lot of these consultant companies and design companies are giving out free webinars, free talks, where they put together all the different industry partners into the same, like Zoom and screening platform. And they talk about, all the different challenges in COVID-19, all the different strategies, be it from the design aspect, be it from the contract management aspect or contractor management, or how to remobilize on site. So these are things that, you may not learn on the ground. You may not see it physically or do things physically. But at least having that knowledge, having that understanding will just enhance your appreciation to the construction environment.
Can we check those kind of sessions under BCA? Are they doing those kind of stuff?
There was, I think, yesterday. BCA, yes. If you go into, if you are in LinkedIn, especially, you might want to follow all the different consultancies as well as BCA, because BCA also comes out with all the different talks, right? How to the impact of COVID-19 in the construction industry. So it's a very long kind of titles, but go to LinkedIn, create your profile. For those who have not create your profile, enhance your profile, and look into sustainability also, because after COVID-19, people will think more about how do you do your projects more productively, more efficiently. how can you be sustainable as a business? Meaning that, be it you're a consultancy or a contractor, how do you ensure that you are able to keep your funds or basically improve your business so that in times like COVID-19, you're able to, go through the storm. You're able to sustain your business. Also in Singapore itself, when you talk about the built industry, we talk about smart cities, right? We talk about green environment, and it's something that is trending. Sustainability, green, smart, these are the three key words that you guys need to know and really understand what is being done. At the same time, do not limit yourself to just Singapore. Singapore is a very, very matured market, meaning that we are already having a lot of buildings that are awesome with design, and a lot of malls actually right now are quite run down. For example, the old malls. You can look into how to retrofit and make it a much greener, sustainable place. You can also look into the ideas and concept about what if, let's say, you will be going to a country in Southeast Asia, and what kind of skills can you adopt or basically transfer. And the concept of smart city, green city, sustainable design is still very relevant, not just in Singapore but around Southeast Asia. Indonesia is coming up. Indonesia is one of the market that is booming. Not just Jakarta as a city, but also the relocation of the government or the capital from Jakarta to Kalimantan. That itself creates an opportunity. Vietnam is coming up. Malaysia is also coming up. Just always remember that Singapore is small. So the built environment is very saturated, right? Whereas you need land, you need technology, you need ideas, you need people. So if you want to be in the built industry, do not always think that you're just going to stay in Singapore or just limit yourself in Singapore. Even with sitting in Singapore, you can do projects in other countries and other regions. So always have that mentality that it's a global world. The built environment is global. It's not just in Singapore. And always think about, the different components, the different technologies all around the world that just enhance human lives to make the world better. So have that mindset, and you will go far. But also have a lot of perseverance, because it's not going to be easy this first 2 years. You need to think of yourself like a sponge, and really like a sponge, because apart from all the different technical components that you have to absorb, trust me, whatever you learn in school, that's like 10% of the knowledge that you can apply, right? Most of the times it's really doing the day-to-day work, be it from designing, drafting, or contract. Be a sponge, absorb as much as you can, and always remember to look through and look back on what you've done. That will help a lot, especially in this industry. And I mean, for me, for the past 6 years, I wouldn't say that it has been easy. It has been actually quite tough, where there were times that I broke down, where not tears of blood lah, but at least wondering, should I stay in this industry? Should I move on? There were moments in my life whereby I really felt like maybe I should quit. Maybe this is not for me. But make sure that you have someone in the industry that is your mentor. Find that someone, either your bosses, either your colleagues, either someone like one of your acquaintances in another company. Have that conversation. Do not keep it in, because sometimes if you keep it in, your mind will just run and you just go crazy. So have that conversation. Having mentorship is essential in this industry. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Istilah. AJ, do we have any questions that we have not asked from?
At the moment, there isn't. I think it's great to actually share that, going through like the industry, there's going to be struggles, and then especially like mental health is something that is actually rising, whether in terms of like in terms of like the different professions. So I also feel that like keeping your mental health in check is also as important. So like what you mentioned, seeking mentorship or seeking other people to just let it out and to keep you like mentally sane in that sense. Yeah, so I guess it's also important.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to add on, like if you talk about mental awareness and mental struggles, right? There were moments where I had that. So some people think, if you have a mental problem, you should talk to a psychiatrist or psychologist. That may not be the route that work for every single one. So sometimes as an individual, you need to find what works for you. some people will go to the gym and like gym out all the frustrations and get sound. But I guess the whole point about mental awareness is that it will come, and given that at this age, be it whether you're a woman or a man, that mental stress will come. There's so much expectations of you at this time. You just have to breathe and really find what are your coping mechanisms. It can be a scented candle. It can be that friend, that trusted friend that speaks to you from time to time, and just manage it. And reality is, in the construction world, it's always fast paced. There's always a lot of changes.
How do you distress yourself, Istilah? After all the drillings and all the the bricks, the cement.
So thankfully, my office used to be near to Arab Street. So that was my coping mechanism, where after work, I'll just go to Arab Street, with all my friends. There's the Sultan Mosque. That's my mechanism. But when I shifted and moved, I wasn't able to cope with those environments. Then I decided, okay, that's not for me. I come back. Other than that, gym or basically workout, keeping healthy is very, very important. And I stress that because one thing that happened after 2 to 3 years working is that I was working overnight, right? There was a lot of OTs, and working at 9, 10, you tend to eat a lot. So I gained a lot of weight, 10, 15 kilos. And that was very unhealthy because I got more sick. I was, very sick. Mind wasn't healthy, body wasn't healthy. So keeping healthy, going exercise, you just have to make sure you have your time for yourself. And those with family, of course, you have time with your kids, your wife, and balance it out. It's gonna be a struggle. You're gonna feel like a clown balancing, but you just have to find your coping mechanism when it comes to mental illness, and everyone will go through it. And it's a stigma, right? Like, if you have mental stress, you are not a good person, you can't cope, and it will bite you. You will feel like you're not a good person, you're not productive, or what the hell is wrong with you, if I can say it very loosely. But you just have to remember that everyone else is going through a struggle in life. And if those difficulties don't come to you, you'll never learn. So just breathe a lot, do yoga if you must, and just take it one step at a time.
Yeah. I'm very curious whether you feel a sense of accomplishment when you see your building once it's completed. What do you feel?
So one of the buildings that I completed was the GSK AHQ house. I'm not so sure whether you guys know. It's located just behind Star Vista. It's a very unique office. I don't know whether you guys know, but you can look out for GSK AHQ. So I was from that project, from trees where I actually saw snakes and all the beetles, to clearing of land, to foundation, to building out, to fitting out inside, and then went for the grand opening. So after that 3 years, I was like, wow, I was part of this project, and I actually grew with that project. I was an assistant manager, and then I became a full manager. So having that satisfaction that, hey, I grew with this project, I created something, I was involved in that creation of something awesome, is what made me want to be in this industry. So, like, for my experience, I've done, like I said, commercial buildings. I have done some works in MBS even, which actually was a casino, but anyway, it was just on the finishing and the restaurants. I did some work in data centers. I even did some work in Indonesia, where I also involved in some projects there. So, it's just diversity. You just see different people, different excitement. I'm more of a fit out person, meaning that I like really, really cool designs. So I really like to talk to the designers. Hey, why do you do this? Why do you take that material? And trust me, with thousands and thousands of material to choose from, I have no idea how sometimes they put things together. It's amazing. So having those design ideas coming together, what they create, and when you learn from there why they do certain things, that will just spur and stimulate your thinking to know more. I think for this industry, what can keep you going is the passion to learn. If you don't have that, it's going to be tough, because it can be very dry. On certain days, trust me, it can be so dry, because it's like, it's ongoing, right? Construction takes time, 2 to 3 years. But as long as you stimulate your brain to learn, to understand, to know the reason why. And I think for a construction industry, it's really stakeholder management and understanding the different dynamic race profile of everyone in your team. their behaviors, their sentiment. You can also use your race to your advantage. So me being Malay, sometimes, I'm a Malay woman and all around me is white men, be it from America or from UK. And it's daunting, like, hey, I'm the only Malay in this group and like I'm the only female. So it's always use it to your advantage, right? In any meeting is to create the space, to create a safe space to speak. So just learn the soft skills lah, and then you'll be fine. Even for men, you just need to learn, how to understand, read people, and then and be able to manage your team well. Yeah.
To wrap up, so you say the road to success is always under construction. So how do youth like us can make sense of that post-COVID?
I guess it also comes in the form of lifelong learning. And I'm not saying that you should not celebrate your small success. You should, right? Be it from a simple promotion to completing your first project. But success in a way, or it will always be, you're always in construction. You're always constructing yourself to be a better person, to be a successful person. You need to always maintain yourself, construct yourself. There's always a maintenance that you need to do. New things that you need to learn. So you're always building up. You're always in that construction mode. Like even for myself, I'm turning 30 soon. I'm still, thinking or looking at different ways in which I can enhance myself, be a better person, a better individual than the last year. So keep that fire of learning, keep that, outlook that to become a better person than before, be it from the career side, be it from the personal side. It's always under construction, and there's always changes. Oh, another thing is change is constant. You just have to manage it. And sometimes the change can be good, sometimes the change can be bad. Whatever change that comes in, I think one thing that I try to do is to embrace them with sincerity. Like what comes, whatever God gives us, try to manage it with sincerity. I mean, there will be times where I get frustrated, definitely. I'm still human, right? To be real. But always remember, it will be better later. You will be better, you'll be more successful. And success doesn't mean you need to be like, mentary or like a successful business person, like someone that is recognized by everyone in Singapore. But it's all those mini success for yourself, and it's always about who you are as a person. Don't think about or don't compare yourself with other people, because that will just kill you. And someone in this digital Instagram, you just compare, oh, this person have done so much success, what have I done? Which is good. You kind of like evaluate like what have you not done, but do not take it like as if that's a benchmark, because you are yourself. Your own challenge is yourself at the end of the day.
Yep.
There you go, everyone. The road to success is always under construction. Istilah Yanti, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much.